Hello, everybody, and welcome to yet another edition of the Middle Georgia Spotlight. I'm your host, Jack Ellis. Thank you so much for being with us this week, and we appreciate you joining us each and every week here on the Middle Georgia Spotlight. We're very pleased to have as our guest, and very proud, really, to have as our guest this week, the executive director of the Tubman African American Museum. Not his first time here, but when he was here the last time, he was the acting director. Now he is in charge, none other than Reverend Dr. Harold Young. I said, we call everybody doctor when you're a preacher, black preacher. Man. But you're the executive director, but you are an ordained minister.
Yes, sir.
And a pastor.
Yes, I am.
In the church. So you're welcome to our program.
Well, first of all, thank you very much, Mcneil. We do appreciate this opportunity to share what's going on in our world. My world is kind of expanded right now, yeah. But we appreciate it.
Exactly. And let me congratulate you personally on your third anniversary. I think you just celebrated 3 years of pastoralship.
That's correct. That's correct.
You and your lovely wife had a big celebration.
Yes, we did. It was the 3rd year anniversary of For the Glory of God Outreach Ministries. We started it, of course, 3 years ago. And we brought in Pastor John P. Key and Milton Bronson's Thompson Community Choir from Chicago and another choir from Atlanta. So it was a big celebration we had. We was able to do that.
Well, God has blessed you in those 3 years, so congratulations.
Thank you very much. I appreciate it.
Yeah. Well, now you wear another hat. You wear several hats. Now, the one that we want to talk about today is the hat that you wear, your day job, if you will, the executive director of the Tubman African American Museum,
That's
the
correct.
Premier African American Museum, I would say in the nation, but at least in the southeast United States.
Yes, sir.
So we want like to get an update. You know, we know that the Tubman has over the years struggled to raise funds and so forth, and but I think you are now on sound. So give us a brief update as to where you are in terms of the operation, your fundraising, and things of that nature.
Well, the Tubman Museum is definitely on the upswing. You know, a couple of years ago when I was over here, we were talking, it was an interim director, we were struggling through. And we do see the light of day. Things have definitely turned around for our better. You know, during this pandemic, we were able to receive some grants. We were able to receive a lot of funding, and it also brought a lot of attention to the Tubman as well. I didn't go virtual like some of the other museums where we're saying going virtual during the pandemic, because we're a brick and mortar building. You have to come inside and experience the Tubman. It's an experience. So people were able to, you know, come to the museum during our pandemic and really support the museum. So we've been grateful. We have a very supportive board that's really been encouraging us. So things are looking real good right now for us. I mean, because everything can be better when you're nonprofit. You never really have enough funding, and but we've expanded. We have a couple programs we started. Our education department has been expanded. We have an after-school program that we work with our new education coordinator. We have a one-on-one tutorial. We bring in kids in and do one-on-one tutorial. We've gotten a grant from Amy Witherwright, which is she owns the 1-800 truck wreck company, and she gave us it was on the news, $36,000.
My God.
To do an after-school program. So we come, and the program is titled Pipeline to Success. I'm counseling pipeline to prison. You know, so we have to educate our kids at a younger age, because some of the generations, we don't call them lost, because no one's lost, because I think everybody can be found. But if we can educate our kids, give them really the supportive base from what Bibb County and the other counties are doing, and help them with this like homework tutorial. So they come in 4 days a week and do one-on-one with our, we partner with Fort Valley, Western College, Middle Georgia State, and we have college students that come in and teach kids one-on-one. So that's been great and very successful. And we also have the Bibb County 21st Century Partnership that we've done. We've been trying to work on that for a year. So every Monday, we have at least 100 kids plus from elementary schools that come to the museum and tour the museum and have a whole experience that we created.
Well, you've been quite busy, obviously, but the core mission of the museum, obviously, is the preservation and the, I guess, the not only preservation, but the teaching of African American history, culture,
Yes, sir.
and so forth.
Yes, sir.
So, explain to us a little bit about how. Not explain to us, but tell us, tell us a little bit about the core mission of the museum.
Our mission is to educate for the art, history, and culture. Art is
Primarily of the African American.
definitely African American experience, definitely.
But not just for the African American.
It's the African American eyes. I put it like that. Understand our culture through our eyes, through our hearts. And it's so interesting. You said that not just for African Americans. Other cultures been visiting the museum more than some of the African Americans, which has been great. And they're learning. We welcome that because they need to learn some of our history. There's not just what you see on television, and understand where we came from, the struggle from the beginning to the end, and where we are now, which is very powerful. So you understand the art. Art is, it's all in the mindset of the artist and what he's trying to convey. Our history isn't pretty, but it happened. You understand our history. And understand culture is how we act and why we do some of the things that we do, which is music, dance, any type of anything that African American culture has developed. So we concentrate on all three of those elements.
When you said our history is not beautiful, maybe we do have some very bad things. The original sin, of course, was slavery, and named after the lady who brought people out of slavery, Tubman. But when you think of how African Americans overcame that is a very success. That's a very success story.
I mean, the experience is not beautiful.
Yeah, I know.
Okay.
I
appreciate you expanding it.
Yeah.
The experience is not beautiful, but we're overcomers.
Yes.
The thing that really impressed me, even reading a lot of books and everything, is where did that come from that we can be so strong that to overcome
that a lady like Tubman can come
and let's talk about Harriet Tubman. 4'8", small statue, can lead people from the South to the North through their freedom because of her tenacity, her faith in God, and her knowledge of the earth and everything. This is not something that, and let me go. Our people have done this for years. I was talking to somebody just yesterday. Where people with the slave masters was hear slaves singing in the field. They said, "Oh, they're so talented." Had no idea it was an escape plan. Developing an escape plan for that night, and the Swing Low, Sweet Chariot, come to carry me home. Those songs that they were singing in the field, there was a plan of action. What mindset? How do you get a mindset to say, I'm going to sing a song and a master not even know how that I'm trying to leave in the morning?
Over the last 2 years, during the pandemic, just before the pandemic, we had a lot of racial strife and protests around the killing of George Floyd and so. So the Tubman, it is a thing about education. How do we educate the other cultures about our sojourn here? And how we see things, like you said earlier, through the eyes of African Americans. So it would behoove the broader community, in my opinion, and I don't want to editorialize here because I want to ask you a question, but it would behoove the entire community to try to get to know this history better so that we could better understand each other.
I totally agree with that because a lot of times you only hear what the news put out there. The news only have 30 seconds or 2 minutes to give a story of a shooting, a killing, and all this. Why is that young man killing? Sometimes it's not even just, I just want to go do random shooting. Sometimes it's a thing of survival. We've been trying to survive for years. You never know, why is that young person stealing? Maybe because he needs something to eat. Understand the culture. I'm not saying it's all every criminal has a reason.
Yeah.
I'm not glorifying criminal, but there's a reason why sometimes things happen the way they do, and that all comes with our culture. Our culture. We were brought over here in chains.
Yeah.
We were forced over here, and then you want us to be okay. Oh, forget slavery. That was a long time ago. but you never give us our just due. You didn't give me a boat trip. You didn't give me put on a love boat.
Yeah.
You didn't put me on a cruise ship. You chained me. Yeah. And then you glorified it and said, listen, I'm going to take the husbands and separate the wives over here and the children over here. Start separating families. Yeah. So it goes right back to family separation way back then. Yeah.
But in spite of all that,
oh man, we overcome it.
We still love America. Man, you know, we serve because which brings me to a point that, and I was part of it, and very proud of it, and the Tubman spearheaded it. That you all did an exhibit of the African American soldiers from Vietnam.
Yes, sir.
But you know, not only was it in the Tubman here, but those same portraits were at the Atlanta Beltway.
Yes.
And was displayed of men and women, men primarily. It was all men, I think. Well, I have very few women Vietnam veterans at the time. But we were highlighted at the Atlanta Beltway because of the Tubman, because of your project with that particular photographer. And I want to personally, as a Vietnam veteran, say thank you for that.
Man, thank you. Johnny Crawford did an amazing job with that, displaying that, the whole story with it. And like you said, in spite of the way America treated us, we still fought and died for our country. And then when we came back from Vietnam, we weren't treated right either. They were treated like traitors, you know? So there's a lot that we could complain about, but we are also, man, we have this tenacity in us to be a survivor, to overcome all adversities that we face. That's why a single mother can raise a giant. You know, it's good that we can have, we would love the family unit to be together. But a single mother has something inside of her that say, I'm gonna still raise my child. You mess with somebody's mother and their child, you will see how a mother can become a lion. Yeah.
And that history, that's very important history, and that's why this critical race theory that a lot of Republicans, I say Republicans, gets it. But why don't we want to teach what? And I know that the Tubman should be at the apex of this, to teach to tell the real story, the untold story. Why would we be uncomfortable knowing? You know, I heard the president say last week how animated he was, how upset he was that these children were torn away at the border from their parents. But just think how many children were torn away from their parents during slavery and never to be seen again, sold off here and that. So that should be taught. What say you?
Yeah, that critical race theory, it's almost an embarrassment to our country that you want to erase the truth. And if you don't know the truth, you end up repeating it. If my kids never knew, and my grandkids never knew about slavery, never knew the struggles, what are we teaching them? That we've always been at a success level? No, I need you to know how our people struggled and how the people made us struggle and continue to kept that knee on our neck. You know, allowing us not to breathe, because and some people, and I'm not talking about all white people because I'm not general. There are people that are afraid to have a African American man or female succeed because we know what we could do to it. We take a sport that's not normally ours. Let's take tennis. Look at Venus and Serena's. That's not our sport normally.
Look at golf.
Look at golf. I'm going down on the golf. Let's go down on the sport. If you put a black man in a challenge like that, they will succeed.
But look how many years we were denied. I mean, it wasn't until 47. That was after I was born. I'm 75. I was born in 46. It wasn't until 1947 until we were able to participate in America's pastime, if you will, baseball.
Baseball.
You know, you think about that. Yeah. That's just yesterday in the scheme
It's not
of things.
too, right, because you're still here, of course,
But we have accomplished so much, and that's why the Tubman, I think, and I'm sure with you at the leadership, you are pushing this to educate, not just to the history, but even to prepare our children, because you spoke about the after-school program, and we want to get a little bit more of that, but you're also preparing kids. Now we're going to talk about the Smokey Robinson that's coming with all that jazz, but you are going to have some African-American children, musicians, part of that.
Yes, we Smokey Robinson's camp reached out to me and said, we want to do something local. localize this a little bit. We want some of the performances that come from the local element. So I called Carla Redding from Otis Redding, and also they're part of the Macon Symphony. So they're going to be able to perform with Smokey Robinson on January 22nd. So this is a great opportunity for everybody. So what we're speaking of is our All That Jazz and Gala, which is January 22nd. It's going to be held at the Macon City Auditorium. Unfortunately, sir, the tables are sold out, but we still got plenty of room in the balcony for it available. But this is the 25th year of All That Jazz. We didn't expect the tables to go so quickly, but they're sold out, which is a great position to be in. But then it's also not because there's some people that we have a waiting list as well. Unfortunately, but we're excited about this. It gives a chance to the community to come together and have a good time and celebrate and support the Tubman Museum's our accomplishments over the years. So this is good.
So this is basically your major fundraiser, your highlight of the of the year.
Yes, sir. Yes, this is our major fundraiser. We do two, which is the Pan-African Festival, which is coming in April. But this is our biggest fundraiser.
And how much money, in general, I know every year is different because the venues are different, but normally how much do you expect to make on this event?
If we can grow close to $50,000-$60,000.
It's a big event.
Yeah. Oh, yeah.
Well, the Tubman has such an important and critical role to play. And I'm sure that you spend a lot of time thinking about how to be creative. But what really keeps you up at night about the Tubman? When you're at the top of any organization, there's some things you just know you got to do or must do that you can't do or you want to do.
Well, what keeps me up at night is I don't ever want to be in the position where the Tubman was years ago, financially. And my role is to find other elements and find other outside of the normal support that we've got. Now, we've got a lot of local support, which is great, but we wanted to expand our reach as well and become a national, regional destination point for our community. People need to know that the Tubman Museum exists. We have people that actually, even locally, I didn't know this was here when they come visit. Which is like not good. But one of the things that we have a project, real quick, speaking of expanding our reach, we have signed a deal with Tyler Perry. We're doing an exhibit on his life in the Tubman Museum. I met with his people a couple weeks ago. We've been working on so that next year you're going to see. And the reason why that is so important, they said, Tyler Perry, that's great. Not because of his name, because of his story. I want to tell the story. So young people can see that a person can live from homelessness, living in his car, a Geo Metro, as tall as he is, slept in a Geo Metro, to where he is now. There's a struggle, there's a story to everybody's success. There's nobody on this on this earth who is successful now, who doesn't have a story behind them. So that story is going to be told. So people now, and when I had the opportunity to speak to these people, I want to know that Tyler Perry, to a young person, can be their modern day Harriet Tubman. Because what Tyler has done, he's reached back and grabbed people and brought them with him. Yeah. He's like, I'm not going to just be successful by myself. He revitalized, God bless her heart, Cecily Tyson's career before she left. Yeah. He started bringing people that we haven't seen in years, revitalizing their career. So giving them an opportunity and thanking them for so he's done what Harriet did. I get to a certain point in my life, I'm gonna go reach back and bring somebody with me. So now a young person who can't really or don't really relate to the slavery because we keep pushing it away and we don't know what's gonna happen in the next few years, they can see a Tyler Perry. They can understand a Tyler Perry because, wow, I remember watching Medea on TV. I remember watching all these TV shows as a young person, and now I can relate to that.
In case you just joined us, we're speaking with Mr. Harry Young. He happens to be a pastor. Sometimes I call him Reverend, but he's the executive director of the Tubman African American Museum, and we have All That Jazz big fundraiser coming up on the 22nd of January. And like you said, most of the floor tickets are gone, but if you can get some on the balcony. But you speak of Tyler Perry, and we should highlight people. Known people, renowned people who've had the struggle. But even locally, I know that you have as your mission as well as to highlight local
Almost
people.
definitely.
Because when you, and we haven't had that before the Tubman. When you think of Henry Mcneil Turner, Bishop Henry Mcneil Turner, a lot of people don't realize that Henry Mcneil Turner was a senator representing Georgia representing Macon during Reconstruction. He was part of the 12 that were kicked out. And we now have a post office named in his honor, the main post office here in Macon. But then we also had the first, if you will, the first African American congressman to speak on the floor of the U.S. House, Jefferson Long. So it's a lot of local history that you're also bringing to light here as well.
You know what? That's going to stay in the museum, definitely. For me, I need a draw card too, to bring attention. So if a Tyler Perry's name to be said, you're going to go through the entire museum and see about a Jefferson Long. You're going to read about, Ellen Craft. You're going to hear about those local people. We still have our local exhibits that we're going to show. But I said, let me come up with a national name figure to say, hey, I need to go down to the Tubman Museum.
Yeah, I hear what you're saying.
Yeah.
But the point I'm trying to make, you have not overlooked
never,
the local.
Never.
It's
the
there,
Otis Reddings,
even
Little
I'm
Richard,
in there.
yes, you are. Little Richard and all of the and local people like Alex Habersham and the Brenda Thomas. We definitely have localized the museum, and I want to keep it that way too. But I want to also bring some national attention to it as well.
And we should, because it is a museum that deserves national attention.
The museum, the structure of the museum is just gorgeous. It's beautiful. And we want to keep that. So that's why I would never, even though I'm not from here locally, but
you're from here now. We've adopted you a long time ago.
Yeah, exactly.
You're a Maconite.
I'm a Maconite. But I just want to let you know that I would never disrespect the heritage of this city because I am at the helm of the it's like, don't just forget about who
built this city and this county.
It's like, why would I do that? That's not, so that's not my goal.
And we are on the cusp of the 200th anniversary of Macon and Bibb County. And if you look at the 1830 census, which was the first census, Macon was formed in 1823. 1830 was our first census. When you look at that census, half of the population was African American, the first census, although most of them were enslaved, but yet they were half of the population. And it has been that way over the years. So when we tell this story, the 200th year story that's coming up, which the Tubman will be a part of, we want to, of course, make sure that's reflective, and I think that's what you're doing, and that's what we appreciate.
Oh, totally, and I'm excited about that. We want to keep our history, which is, the art is, even if we don't put anything else, anything art-wise, what's like portrait or anything, you just walk into the building, you can feel the history of our building. And I want people to feel the culture. Yeah. But we definitely going to concentrate on all three of those.
But should people, for instance, one of the things you have assigned me as the liaison with the historic Macon as we get ready to celebrate our 200th anniversary, one of the things we're looking at, put markets. There were like 4 slave markets downtown Macon. Should white people or people, even black people, should they be offended by us putting a marker to say a slave market existed on the corner of Poplar and 2nd Street? Should that be offensive to anyone?
Are you offended by the flag, Betsy Ross flag?
Or the statue?
That's a statue. It's history. As I said 10 minutes ago, it's not beautiful, but you recognize it, you honor it, you don't forget it. We can't just keep celebrating. I mean, thank God for the Jay-Z's, Beyonce's, and all this other. But what about our history? There would have been no Jay-Z, we didn't have the history, So we have to celebrate and honor and pay homage to those people that suffered and never forget it.
Yeah. I know a few years back, maybe before your tenure, but some African American ministers in town took issue with a display, but it was art. It was art, and art, you know, it comes in all forms. But we have to realize that we do have to uplift the African American pastor, the preacher, because the African American preacher was at the helm of the
Certainly.
civil rights, long before Dr. King.
Right.
I mentioned earlier Bishop Henry Mcneil Turner.
Yes, sir.
When you read that speech that he gave on the floor of the State House as they were being summarily kicked out, the 12 that were serving during Reconstruction. So how do you bring these pastors, or all pastors, you being one yourself, to say that you are part of this too?
I've actually reached out. That's interesting you brought that up. When I became the director, I reached out to those pastors that had the issue with that that portrait. Was the Pimp Series, that's what it was. And I reached out to them, and on behalf of the Tubman, I didn't apologize for the art. I apologized and how it made them feel. You know?
Were they brought in? Were they included before you put it out there? Do you know you weren't? You weren't there.
I don't know. I just started it worked, and then it was when we just moved into the museum, and that did take place. Okay. So I'm.
Don't want to focus on the negative, but I'm just saying, how do we bring everybody in?
What I did was I sat them down, and I talked to them, individually and collectively, on we need your support to maintain the museum, not just financially, just their presence.
Well, what we're talking about, that is a display of an art, a piece of work of art, and it portrayed some African American preachers as pimps. And of course, I don't blame them for taking issue with it if they didn't understand how the art was. Yeah, but we have about 2 minutes left. I want to get back to this, all this jazz.
Yes, sir. Yes, sir.
And maybe some other things that's pressing on your mind that you want to
discuss. 15 seconds on that art piece real quick. It was about one pastor in Chicago, and it was called the Pimp Series. He was pimping, and they took offense to it. My being a pastor and being who loved the city, never want to offend anybody in that way. Art is subjectional, so you have to. It's what the artist. You have to look what the artist is saying across the board. Now, even what we're saying, even with any piece that we do, from here on now, look at it as what is the artist trying to convey? What message is he giving? Take that and you can learn from it. All that jazz, I'm looking forward to it. January 22nd, excuse me.
Yeah.
22nd on Saturday night. I know you're going to be sharp. You're going to wear your tuxedo. I know how you do.
I look forward to it. Well, we've been speaking with Mr. Harold Young. We're in the Christmas holiday season here. I want to wish you a happy holiday, a Merry Christmas.
Thank you, sir.
I'm not opposed to saying Merry Christmas.
Yes,
Happy Kwanzaa and Happy Hanukkah and
yes,
everything else that comes in between.
Yes, sir.
And I'm sure you're going to have a lot of festivities and activities going on at the Tubman doing that.
Yes, we are, and looking forward to it. We're doing drives. We partner with several different organizations, making sure the kids have their toys for Christmas.
Well, great, and Happy New Year to you, and
yes, sir.
A great 2021 and a great Christmas to all of you.
Thank you.
Thank you all so much for joining us here on the Middle Georgia Spotlight from Dr. Reverend Pastor Harold Young, Executive Director of the Tubman African American Museum. I'm your host, Jack Ellis. Until next week, so long.